السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا، من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأن محمدا عبده ورسوله. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء، واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم، ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. We stopped in the last class we had for the Seerah in the 7th year of prophethood, when the Muslims had migrated to Abyssinia, what you say today we translate it loosely as Ethiopia. And this was the second time they had gone and they had migrated, they had done the hijrah to Habasha, Abyssinia. This was the second time. There, the great event happened because the kuffar of Quraish, they sent 2 emissaries, Amr ibn al-As and another one, to go and convince the king of Abyssinia, Al-Najashi, Ashama radiallahu anhu, to bring them back, citing that their people were people of corruption and they have changed their religion and all of that. And the great speech which was given by Ja'far ibn Abi Talib, which we went through, I think most of us we know, which left al-Najashi in tears. It left him in tears when he realized that the message of Islam which this prophet has come with, this prophet who came from Arabia, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is the same message which was brought by the prophet of Islam, Isa ibn Maryam, or Jesus in English. And that is when al-Najashi, he either became Muslim right away or that was the beginning of him becoming a Muslim. And we cited some of the benefits we get from that event. Al-Najashi radiallahu anhu, he was a Muslim, he died a Muslim, and the proof for that is the hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this is again later on, we're going to mention it later on in the days in Medina, when he died or when he received the news that Al-Najashi died, Ashama, he prayed for him Salatul Janazat al-Ghaib. They prayed for him the prayer of Janazah for the person who was absent basically. Now, this is the 7th year of prophethood, going into the 8th year, the 8th year. We have mentioned how the situation in Mecca, which has led some of these Muslims to seek refuge in Abyssinia, it is a very hostile situation. Not is it hostile only, rather the Muslims are being tortured, persecuted, abused, physically and verbally. And that is why the Prophet ﷺ allowed them to migrate for the sake of Allah, al-Hijrah. And we're going to see how some of the Muslims came back after 2-3 years, and some of them like Ja'far ibn Abi Talib and others, they stayed and only came back in the 7th year of the Hijrah, meaning 3 years before the death of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So they stayed in Abyssinia for a long time, for at least 10 years. They stayed there for at least 10 years, at least. Which shows you that obviously, and we have seen how Ja'far was an eloquent speaker, and he was someone who knew the deen. So obviously they were doing da'wah there. So the seeds of Islam in Africa are very, very old. Islam in Africa, especially East Africa, the Horn of Africa as they call it, it is very old. It is from the time of the Sahaba. Because it's inconceivable, to say that Ja'far was there for all these years and he did not do da'wah to anybody. Tayyib? Now, while they were there, we go back to Mecca. When Amr ibn al-As, he came back, and his companion, the two ambassadors of the Quraish, who were sent to Abyssinia, to King Najashi, to convince him to return these Muslims. But they didn't succeed in their mission. So when they came back with that news, and Amr al-As, now he's narrating the story after he's a Muslim, he says, from that day I knew that Islam is going to prevail. If this great king of that time is accepting them, then this matter is going to go forward. So when they came back with all the gifts they had rejected, and they informed their people in Makkah, Abu Lahab and Abu Jahal and all the others, there was a great blow against them. It was a defeat. That now these Muslims who we want to persecute, torture, abuse, we want to crush their religion, now they actually have a place they can go. And it's not just any place, it's a place of a strong king of that time. Because we mentioned, if you remember, how the people of Abyssinia, their empire was so big that it ruled over Yemen also. So it was not just Abyssinia, which is today Africa, it went past the Red Sea into Yemen. And you remember the story of the man who wanted to destroy the Kaaba, the year the Prophet ﷺ was born. Who is he? Abraha. Where is he from? Who was he working under? He was the governor of the king of Abyssinia. So now the Muslims have a refuge. They have a home which is powerful, more powerful than the small enclave of Mecca. So the Quraish of Mecca, now they were shook. This is not good news for them. This was not good news for them. So the only thing they knew was to increase the torture and persecution on the Muslims. That is the only thing they knew. So the personal torture continued. People are being tortured for their deen. But because this was not working so well, people are still becoming Muslims. Some of the Muslims had the chance, they migrated. The Quraysh, they came together and they went to Abu Talib, the uncle of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They said to him, give us Muhammad, because we have decided to kill him. He is causing a lot of problems between us. He is abusing our gods and all of what they used to say. And of course, Abu Talib refused. If you remember, we mentioned that story. They went to him and they said to him, give us Muhammad and we will give you the best young man in Mecca. Most handsome, smartest, strongest young man. But you give us your nephew so we can kill him. And Abu Talib said, that's a very bad trade. I give you my son so you kill him, and then you give me your son so I take care of him. So they went again, but of course Abu Talib refused. When he refused, they got together and they said, then we are going to impose what we call today an economic embargo or sanctions on you and anyone who supports Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They said, we're going to impose what? The torture, persecution is not working. It's not working. Now we are going to use another form of persecution and torture, and that is economic sanctions. So none of us will sell anything to someone who's a Muslim or to anyone who defends the Muslims. So that includes you, Abu Talib. And none of us are going to buy anything from the businesses of the Muslims. And none of us, it's not just now economic sanctions or embargo, it became a social embargo also, or sanctions. They said none of us are going to marry from your families. And all of your families, if you come to propose to our daughters, will refuse you. And they got together and to affirm it, because this is something unheard of. Who are they cutting off? They're cutting off Banu Hashim, and that is the family of the Prophet ﷺ, and Banu Abdul Muttalib. And remember, we mentioned how many tribes of Quraish are there. At the end, they all go to the same father. But how many are there? Who remembers? 6, 7, 8, 9? It was 7 if I'm not wrong. 7 or 8. These two, because Abu Talib, they are Banu Hashim. The Prophet ﷺ is from Banu Hashim. And their brothers are Banu Abdul Muttalib. He called them, Abu Talib called them and said, look, Abu Jahl and Abu Lahab and Umayyah bin Khalaf and so, they want to kill Muhammad. But I cannot give him up. So we have to stand together because he's our boy. He's our boy. We have to defend him. And remember, the situation or the society of the Arabs was just based on tribal system. We mentioned that. It's just a tribal system. So all of us have to defend him. So all of them agreed to do that. Those who are Muslims and those who are not Muslims. Those who are Muslims, obviously they have to defend the Prophet ﷺ. And those who are not Muslims, they said, we're going to defend him. Why? Because he is our tribesman. We come from the same tribe. We cannot let someone just come and kill him. But because the economic sanctions have been imposed on them, Abu Talib, he called all of them to move out of Mecca, or what you call downtown Mecca. To move out of downtown Mecca and move to what is called Shi'b Abu Talib. And the Shi'b is far off, what you go to the suburbs, out of the city. And the Shi'b is the path between two mountains. The path between two mountains is called Shi'b. That's where they moved and they lived there. Abu Talib and his family. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and his family. Abu Bakr and his family. Every Muslim moved out. Because there's serious economic sanctions. This is Makkah. If nobody sells you food, you will die. You will die. You have the money, but nobody is going to sell you food. And you are a trader, nobody is buying anything of your business. Your business will collapse. And socially also, we don't get married to you, you don't get married to us, meaning there's no connection whatsoever. So they all moved out, the Muslim of them and those who are not Muslims, Banu Hashim and Banu Abdul Muttalib, to the place called Shi'b Abu Talib, the valleyway of Abu Talib. And obviously after some time, you can imagine the situation became very bad. The situation became very bad. There was no more food. The children will cry in the Shi'b and they will hear them in Makkah. because they don't have food. And when the traders will bring food, when they would bring food, the people of Makkah, the kuffar of Makkah, they would double the price to make sure they sell only to them and they don't sell food to the Muslims. Or they would make sure they go out to meet the traders before they reach the Shi'ab so they can buy all the food. Now, as you know, as a businessman, someone comes and offers you double the price. You're selling an apple for $2, he says, I'll pay $4. Well, there's another guy who wants to pay you $2. You say, buy, give me your $4, right? So the Muslims could not buy the food, and when the food came, the kuffar will double the price and they will buy it. So the situation became very bad. Now this is an important event in the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ. Why is it important? Because today we have Muslims who are suffering the same situation. Economical embargoes or sanctions. Same situation. And what happened in Iraq for the last 20 years is not hidden to most of you, if you know. What happened in Iraq is the best example. How people became evil enough even to refuse medicine for children. So this is not new. It is old. The kuffar of Quraish, they imposed this on the Prophet ﷺ and the Muslims. It was not for one day, ikhwan. It was not for 2 days. This continued for 3 years. 3 years. Sa'ad bin Abi Waqqas radiyallahu anhu, he narrates the hadith after now in Medina, after the death of the Prophet ﷺ, when they become rich now. And some people are pointing fingers at Sa'ad saying, oh, he's not a good Muslim. Those people were not even Sahaba of the Prophet ﷺ. They became Muslim after. You know, this always happens. Someone, mashallah, he started practicing the deen properly some few months ago. And he got to know about following the sunnah a few months ago. He comes and he looks at all those people, maybe his teachers, for the last people who've been teaching for the last 20 years, says, oh, these guys, they're all lost. So someone came and looked at Sa'ad and said, oh, Sa'ad is this and that. And Sa'ad, he got up and said, they want to criticize my religion? They should have seen us on those days. When we had no food, we will eat leaves, just like the camel eats leaves. We will eat grass, just like the camel eats grass. And when we go to the washroom, whatever comes out is just like what comes out from the camel. Waliyadhu billah. Now today they want to say, I'm not a good Muslim? Meaning we went through that with the Prophet ﷺ. Who are you to accuse me of anything? Sa'ad, he says one day, he went to the washroom. And while he was urinating, this is reported by Abu Nu'aym in his Hilya, he saw a piece of leather, animal skin, on the ground. So he took it, he washed the urine away. And then he put water in it for 3 days and he used to drink that. So that the water gets some of the nutrients from the leather or the skin. That is how bad it was, the situation. They were eating grass, ikhwani, leaves, just like animals eat leaves. To the point that some of those who are not Muslims, they felt bad for them. They felt bad, like these are our people at the end of the day. And there are some who used to help them, like Hakim ibn Hizam. Hakim ibn Hizam is the nephew, Hakim ibn Hizam radiyallahu anhu. He became Muslim after. He is the nephew of Khadija. He is the nephew of Khadija. And also Hisham ibn Amr al-Amiri, he also became Muslim in Fath Makkah. They will take a camel and fill up food on it and go close to the Shi'ab. They will not go into the Shi'ab where the Muslims are living. And then they'll just leave the camel so that it can go inside by itself. So someone can find it. That way, they don't get in trouble with the Quraysh who says, oh, you're taking food for them. So they used to do that. Hakim bin Hizam and Hisham ibn Amir al-Amiri radiyallahu anhum. But on top of all of this, ikhwani, the Prophet ﷺ never stopped calling people to Islam. The da'wah to La ilaha illallah never stopped. The da'wah to stop shirk never stopped. With all these difficulties. Imagine 3 years, ikhwan. It's not 1 day, 2 days you don't have food. 3 years. They don't have anything. And during this time, some of the events which happened during this time, Abdullah bin Abbas radiallahu anhum, he was born. Abdullah bin Abbas, who later on became one of the greatest scholars of this ummah. He was born at this time. Who is his father? Who's the father of Abdullah bin Abbas? Al-Abbas, طبعا. And if you don't know that, then Bismillah, mashallah alayk, ya. His father is Al-Abbas. Who's Al-Abbas? Al-Abbas ibn Abdul Muttalib, he's the uncle of the Prophet ﷺ. When Abdullah bin Abbas is born, is his father a Muslim yet? No, he was not a Muslim, Al-Abbas. But his mother was a Muslim. Al-Fadl, she became Muslim before Al-Abbas. The wife of Al-Abbas ibn Abdul Muttalib, she was Muslim before he was Muslim. So this is the time Abdullah bin Abbas was born. Now something great which we have to mention during this time. There were some of the Muslims, especially one, who could have left because they had so much money. They could have left and said, I can go live somewhere else. And nobody would stop them. But they stuck with the Prophet ﷺ to give him their support through thick and thin, hardship and ease, difficulty and happiness. And that is none other than the greatest supporter of this religion and our Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, Khadija bint Khuwaylid radiallahu anha. She could have left. She had so much wealth. She didn't need to starve and suffer. But she was the greatest support that our Prophet ﷺ ever received. So they underwent a very hard time for 3 years. Until one day, someone called Hisham ibn Amr ibn Rabi'ah, he felt bad. He felt bad. So he went to someone called Zuhair ibn Abi Umayyah. And Zuhair ibn Abi Umayyah, his mother was Atika bint Abdul Muttalib. Atika is the aunt of the Prophet ﷺ. Atika is the sister of Abdullah and Abdul Muttalib and Abu Talib and the rest, and Al-Abbas. So technically he is the cousin of the Prophet ﷺ. He went to him and he said, Ya Zuhair, أقد رضيت أن تأكل الطعام وتلبس الثياب وتنكح النساء وأخوالك حيث قد علمت لا يباعون ولا يبتاع منهم ولا ينكحون ولا ينكح إليهم. He said, Oh Zuhair, you are happy that you are eating good food, you are sleeping good, you can get married to whoever you want, while your cousins are in that situation. They cannot buy food, they cannot sell food. They cannot get married to anybody, nobody can get married to them. Economic and social sanctions. He said to him, Hisham ibn Amr, if it was me and those were my cousins, I would never have done that. I would never accept it. So he said to him, ويحك يا هشام فماذا أصنع? What can I do? إِنَّمَا أَنَا رَجُلٌ وَاحِدٌ. I'm just one man against the whole tribe of Quraysh. I'm just one person. If I had someone like me, I would stand up and speak. So Hisham said to him, I am with you. I am with you in this. So they said, بغينا رجلا ثالثا. Let's find someone who's a third person. So they went to Al-Mut'im ibn Adi and memorized this name and this person because we'll come back to him. Al-Mut'im ibn Adi. And he is the father of the Sahabi called Jubair ibn Mut'im. Maybe you've heard a hadith which is narrated from Jubair ibn Mut'im. This is his father, Al-Mut'im ibn Adi. They went to him and they said, Ya Mut'im, same words. أَقَدْ رَضِيتَ أَنْ يَهْلِكَ بَطْنَانِ مِنْ بَنِي عَبْدِ مَنَافٍ. You are pleased that two of the families of Abd Manaf, they're going to die. And you are going to be a witness because of what Quraish is doing. He says, I'm just one man, what am I going to do? Now, if you look at their responses, it shows you what? They all had realized that what you are doing is wrong, but what can I do? It's just me. So they said to him, we are with you. Now they became how many? 3. After that, they went to so many people, I want to summarize. Until there was 5 of them. So they went to Abu al-Bakhtari ibn Hisham. Who was Abu al-Bakhtari? The brother of Abu Jahl ibn Hisham. From him, they went to someone called Zam'a ibn al-Aswad. Who's Zam'a ibn al-Aswad? Zam'a ibn al-Aswad ibn al-Muttalib. Naam? No. Okay, we'll get back to him. Now there was 5 of them. So they went to the Kaaba. And by the way, let me track you back. When the Quraysh, they had decided to impose their sanctions, they said we should write it down to make a confirmation of it. It's not just we're saying things. We are going to write a covenant that we, people of Quraysh, have agreed to impose sanctions on Banu Hashim and Banu Abdul Muttalib. All of us. So they wrote it. And the person who actually wrote it, that, his name was Mansur ibn Ikrimah. Mansur ibn Ikrimah ibn Amir ibn Hisham ibn Hashim ibn Abd Manaf. Mansur ibn Ikrimah ibn Amir ibn Hashim ibn Abd Manaf. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he made dua against him, and Allah paralyzed his hand. His hands were paralyzed because he's the one who wrote that. What did he write? Bismika Allahumma, by your name, O Allah, we, the tribe of Quraysh, have agreed to impose sanctions, muqata'a, al-hisar, on everybody who supports Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Banu Abdul Muttalib, all of them, and Banu Hashim. And to emphasize it, they took that covenant, that piece of paper, and they put it on the Kaaba so that everybody can see it. And because they used to venerate the Kaaba, so everybody knows that this is something which is very important to us. 3 years until these 5 men, they came together. They went to the Kaaba. Zuhair ibn Abi Umayyah, the one who started it, he made tawaf. And then he stood up and said, Ya Ahl Makkah, O people of Makkah, أنأكل الطعام ونلبس الثياب وبنو هاشم هلك لا يباعون ولا يبتاع منهم. We are wearing good clothes, we are eating nice food, while Banu Hashim, they are dying. والله لا أقعد حتى تشق هذه الصحيفة القاطعة الظالمة. I'm not going to sit down until this oppressive covenant and agreement, I'm going to tear it up. When he said that, Abu Jahl, la'anahullah, he stood up and said, "Kadhabt, you are lying. Nobody's going to touch that piece of paper." So then Zam'a ibn al-Aswad, he stood up. He said, "Wallahi, you are the one who's lying. We were never pleased with these sanctions. You forced them on us." And then Abu al-Bakhtari stood up. And al-Mut'im bin Adi stood up. And Hisham bin Amr, the one who started it all, stood up. Now these are great men from the tribes. When Abu Jahl, he saw this, he said, "Surely this is something all of you agreed on before. You planned this already." Now while this is happening, the Prophet ﷺ in the Shi'ab, he told his uncle Abu Talib, "Today, Allah will send to that piece of paper, that covenant, those small bugs, I don't know what you call it, I forgot the name, the termite, ahsant. Allah will send on it those termites, and they will eat everything of that paper except the name of Allah. Go and tell the Quraish and you will see it." So Abu Talib left the Shi'ab. Well, this is happening in the Kaaba. By the time he got there, he saw them there arguing. So he says, because they used to respect him a lot, Abu Talib. He says, "My son," meaning the Prophet ﷺ, "has informed me of something. And that something is a proof that he is a true prophet. So if it is true, you should let him go. Don't tell me you want to kill my son." They asked, "What is that?" He said, "He told me that the termite has ate everything of this piece of paper, except the places where Allah's name is mentioned." Abu Jahl said, "If it's not true, then you're going to give him to us and we will kill him now. Is that a fair deal?" Abu Talib got scared. He said, "This is a proof he's a real prophet. He told me this." So Abu Jahl said, "If it's not true, then we are going to kill him. You'll surrender him to us, we'll kill him." Abu Talib, because he was not a Muslim, he held back. He didn't say yes. But if it was me and you're supposed to say what at that point? Yes. Because these are the words of who? The Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He doesn't speak of matters from his own mind. This is wahi from Allah. He doesn't know the ghaib, the unseen, except what Allah has told him. When they opened the door, they looked at it. Everything of that paper had been gone, except the places where there was the name of Allah. Yet they did not believe. But on that, those sanctions and the economic embargo was ended. It was ended. So the Muslims, they came back to Mecca, main or downtown Mecca. After how long? 3 years. Now what year is this? Now we have entered the 10th year. Before we go to the 10th year though, what are some of the benefits we get from this? Number one, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put us in this life to be tested. And the stronger your iman, the stronger the tests. As the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, أشد الناس بلاءً الأنبياء ثم الأمثل فالأمثل. The people who are tested most are the prophets, because the iman is the greatest. And then those who are next, those who are next. Many of us, we forget this. And when the tests come, it shakes us in our iman. The Muslim is not supposed to be shaken when the tests come. The tests, they're supposed to make you stronger, bring you closer to Allah. Some of the finest words I have ever heard someone say. They said, Allah, when He tests you, your health, money, job, family, whatever it is, does Allah know or not? Does He know or not? In fact, He's the one who brought the test to you, right or wrong? So Allah tests you, so you go back to Him. And when you go to Him, He makes you greater. He tests you, so you become closer to Him. You make more dua, you pray more, you give more sadaqah. Your heart is attached more to Him. And when you do that, He makes you greater and greater. We are in this world to be tested. And if you want to hold on to the correct religion and be a good Muslim, you will be tested. You'll be tested whether you want to be a good Muslim or not. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إخواني, الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم. He is the one who created life and death to test you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, the ayah in Surah Al-Baqarah about Al-Bala, what does it say? وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِنَ الْخَوْفِ. Allah says, we surely, there's no doubt it will happen. You'll all be tested with what? Khawf, fear. That's the test they had. They feared for their lives. Just like me and you today, we cannot go to some countries just because you're Muslim. You're Muslim, that's it. You fear for yourself. Wal-ju'i, hunger, no food. They were tested by that, the Prophet ﷺ. And there's millions of Muslims today being tested by hunger. They're poor. Or maybe some of them, they have the money, but there's no food to buy. وَنَقْصِ مِنَ الْأَمْوَالِ. Yesterday, you had $50,000, you had $5,000. Today, you have $500 only. It's a test. وَالْأَنفُسِ. You had your sister, you had your uncle, you had your father, you had your son yesterday. Today, they died. You will be tested. This is what the life of this world is about. There's no escape of that. What are you supposed to do though? وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ. Give good news of good things which are coming for those who will be patient. Who are they? الَّذِينَ إِذَا أَصَابَتْهُمْ مُصِيبَةٌ. When a calamity strikes them, when a test comes to them, right away they go where? They return to Allah. They say, Inna lillahi, we belong to Allah. So it means He does whatever He wants. Wa inna ilayhi raji'un. At the end, we all return to Allah. You know what that statement means? It's supposed to make the test easy. Inna lillahi, we belong to Allah. So He does what He wants. And we know whatever He does, there's no dhulm. He does not oppress. It's all good. And at the end, wa inna ilayhi raji'un, we all return to Him. So this test of the world you have, whether you're sick, whether you're unemployed, whether you can't get a child, whether your child is acting bad, at the end we'll all die. وَإِنَّ إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ. It will end. Those people, أُولَٰئِكَ عَلَيْهِمْ صَلَوَاتُ مِنْ رَبِّهِمْ. When they do that, Allah praises them and raises them up. Didn't you hear about the story of Adam alayhi salam? Everybody knows the story of Adam. Adam was created. Where was he living? Where was Adam? Jamaica, New Zealand. Where are you from? Somalia. Hargeisa. Where was he? Mogadishu. Where was Adam? In Jannah. In Jannah. He was told, enjoy everything. Free is yours. You and your wife. رَغَدًا حَيْثُ شِئْتُمَا. Except this one tree. But Adam, his wife was overcome by the Iblis, Hawa, and she overcame Adam, and they decided to eat, and they were both guilty. What happened then? قُلْنَا اهْبِطُوا مِنْهَا jami'a. They were told, now you're going to go to this earth. You came from Jannah, there's no problems. Now you're going to be tested. So if our father Adam was tested, who are us? But this is the point I want to make. What does Allah say about Adam? Then Adam repented. But then what? What happened then? What does Allah say in Surah Taha? ثُمَّ اجْتَبَاهُ رَبُّهُ. After Adam repented, after the test, Allah made him special. The ulama of the Quran, they say, the scholars of the Quran, Allah did not make him more special until after He tested him. And Allah tested Iblis. Make sajda to Adam, show respect to Adam. And he refused. He failed the test and he is cast forever. So we are going to be tested also. The Prophet ﷺ, he was tested. He was tested. Imagine 3 years, no food. You're eating leaves. Waliyadha billah. Yet they did not change their iman. So everybody will be tested, ikhwan. This is what the life of the world is about. The beautiful thing is, if you are someone who always comes to the majalis al-ilm, you get reminded. So you prepare yourself for the test. It's going to come. There's no escape of it. If you're someone of the Quran, you read about the tests, you know you'll be tested. And again, if you look at the lives of the prophets of Allah, there's no test we can suffer, we can be tested with, except that they were tested with. There's no test which me and you can be tested with, except the prophets of Allah, they were tested with that. Let me give you examples. Adam alayhi salam, he was tested with a great test. One of his own children, Qabil, killed his own brother, his other child, Habil. Imagine you have 2 children and one child kills his brother. What a great test that is. What a great test that is. Me and you, we don't have that kind of test. Say Alhamdulillah. Nuh alayhi salam, his own wife used to tell people, don't believe in Nuh. His own wife refused the message of Tawheed, even though Nuh, he lived for 950 years according to Tawheed. She refused. Imagine. If you have your wife, she's a Muslim, say Alhamdulillah. His own son refused to believe. And as if there is not enough, the day the flood is going on, the water is rising, Nuh is on the ark, on the ship. He tells his son, Ya bunayya arkab ma'ana, climb on the ship, it's time to believe now. قَالَ سَآوِ إِلَى جَبَلٍ يَعْصِمُنِي مِنَ الْمَاءِ. I'm going to climb on top of this mountain, it will save me from the water. Nuh says to him, alayhi salam, لَا عَاصِمَ الْيَوْمَ مِنْ أَمْرِ اللَّهِ. Today nobody can be saved except those who believe. وَحَالَ بَيْنَهُمَا الْمَوْجِ. Imagine while they are talking, a wave of water came between them. And he was of those who are destroyed. Nuh cried. He's his own son. He's a prophet of Allah, but he cried. That is your own blood. قَالَ يَا رَبِّ إِنَّ مِنْ أَهْلِ وَإِنَّ وَعْدَكَ الْحَقِّ. And Allah says to him, no, he's not from your family. إِنَّهُ عَمَلٌ غَيْرُ صَالِحٍ. Imagine the test, subhanallah. Lut alayhi salam, same thing. His own wife refused to believe. Ibrahim alayhi salam, his own father was the one who used to make the idols for people to worship. His own father says to him, if you don't stop, لَإِن لَمْ تَنْتَهِ يَا Ibrahim, we'll not just kill you, we'll kill you the worst way, we'll stone you to death. وَهْجُرْنِ مَلِيًّا, get away from me. His own father. So if you are tested today, Your father is a Muslim, alhamdulillah, but he's not just the best Muslim. Say alhamdulillah. May Allah fix him and fix all of us. Ibrahim alayhi salam is tested. 80 years. He has become old. His bones have become weak. His wife, she doesn't conceive. Yet then the angel says, you're going to get a child. There's many of us, brothers and sisters, who they're in that situation. They can't get a child. Never give up hope in the mercy of Allah. Same thing with the Prophet of Allah, Zakaria alayhi salam. وَاشْتَعَلَ الرَّأْسُ شَيْبًا. My head is full of white hair. He was old. Allah tests you. Any test we are going to suffer, they suffered already. That's why Allah put those stories in the Quran, so we can read and learn and practice, wallahi. Sickness, all of us were tested with sickness. The Prophet of Allah, Ayyub alayhi salam, ibtuliya thamana ashra sana. 18 years he was sick. Ayyub was one of the richest people. He had hundreds of horses, tens of wives, and because they could marry more than that before, and children. Everybody died. Everybody died except one wife. And he became so sick, his wife had to hold his hand just to go to the washroom. That is how sick and poor he became. 18 years. What did he used to say? Rabbi inni massani ad-durr wa anta arhamur rahimin. Oh Allah, you know that I am sick, but you are the most merciful of those who are merciful. And Allah cured him. And Allah made him so rich again. Allah cured him, his body became so healthy. And Allah made locusts. You know what a locust is? That small grasshopper thing, that insect. Locusts of gold were raining down on him. They were raining down on him after he was so poor and sick for 18 years. And he would collect them with his cloth. And Allah said to him, "Oh my slave Ayyub, aren't you rich enough? You don't need this." He said, "Ya Rab, how can I say no to your fadl, to your blessings?" Isa alayhi salam, they used and they do until today. They accuse him. And they accuse his mother. And they say she was an evil woman. They slander her. Maryam alayhi salam. There's no test you or I can be tested with except that the prophets of Allah, they were tested with that. Lakin, they never changed. They never changed. They stood firm on their iman. And that is where Allah made them the greatest people. So we are going to be tested, ikhwan. And this is how the Prophet ﷺ is being tested. It's just 10 years since he was a prophet. So much has happened. Number 2, from the benefits we get here. Like we said, we see that the economical forms of punishment, because it is a punishment, they are not new. They are not new. They have been used against Muslims since time beginning. They're used against the Prophet ﷺ. They have been used before. They are being used today also. Why? Because no society can exist without a proper economical system and societal system. You have to have that. We are humans. The least is you need to buy and sell food. That's the least. Survival. Now when this happened, we are going to stop at 9 o'clock. Inshallah, we have 15 minutes. This is now the 10th year. The Quraish, they sent another delegation to Abu Talib. Now Abu Talib is an old man now. He's almost 80 something. They sent another delegation to him. Because they saw that Abu Talib is old, he could die anytime. So when Abu Talib was a bit sick, the Quraish were afraid. Maybe we should take advantage before he dies. So they went to Abu Talib. And there was 25 of them, the normal criminals, usual suspects. The usual suspects were there. Utbah ibn Rabi'ah and his brother Shayba bin Rabi'ah, Abu Jahl bin Hisham, Umayyah bin Khalaf, Abu Sufyan, who was not a Muslim yet, Al-As ibn Wa'il, the father of Amr bin As, Al-Aswad ibn Abdul Muttalib, and the rest of them. They went to Abu Talib and they said to him, Innaka kabiruna sayyiduna. You are our old person, old personality, and our chief. Fasifna min ibn akhik. Be just when you deal with us regarding your nephew. So tell him to stop cursing our gods. Some of you should have paid attention to this. They always said this. They always say this. Tell him to stop cursing our gods. But did the Prophet ﷺ used to curse their gods? He never did that, not even once. But it's false gods, right or wrong? The only true God is Allah. So to like you, can you curse those false gods? Whatever gods people worship, say you curse them. Is that allowed? Remember, we study the Seerah and bring it to our lives. Can we do that or not? Who says yes? Nobody says yes? Tayyib. Who says no? Based on what you say no? Or just today you woke up and you feel to say no? Because the Prophet ﷺ didn't do it. Okay, that's a good way of looking at it. But there's a clear proof in the Quran which says what? وَلَا تَسُبُّوا الَّذِينَ يَدْعُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ. Do not curse those things they worship besides Allah. Why? فَيَسُبُّ اللَّهَ عَدْوًا بِغَيْرِ عِلْمٍ. Then they in turn will turn and curse Allah without knowing what they're doing. That is Surah what? Al-An'am. Look how this deen is a deen of hikmah. Somebody's God is the most precious thing to them. If you go and start cursing their gods, you think tomorrow if you call them to Islam, they'll accept your message? No. But they used to say this. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ said, stop worshipping idols. But human beings, we like to make up things to make it seem like, oh, he did a very bad thing. So they used to say this. Tell him to stop cursing our gods. He never cursed your gods. They said, Ya Abu Talib, we fear for you. We feel that you might die soon. And you see how we have so much enmity between us and your nephew. So call him here so he can give his word before you die that he is going to stop from causing us harm. And we will leave him with his religion. And he leaves us with our religion. So Abu Talib sent for the Prophet ﷺ who came. And because they were people who were evil, when the Prophet ﷺ came in, they didn't let him to be close to Abu Talib. They said maybe if he sits close to Abu Talib, he'll become soft to the Prophet ﷺ. So they closed all the spaces and they let him stand close to the door. When he entered, Abu Talib said, Ya ibn akhi, O my nephew, هؤلاء أشراف قومك. These are the chiefs of your people, the noble people. They came here to take a word of you, a word from you, a promise that you will stop cursing their idols and they will leave you with your God. I think this is just, Abu Talib says, it's fair, so you should accept it. The Prophet ﷺ said to them, أرأيتم إن أعطيتكم هذه هل أنتم معطية كلمة إن أنتم تكلمتموهم بها ملكتكم بها العرب ودانت لكم بها العجم. What do you guys say if I give you this word? But you give me one word. If you say that word, in fact, the Arabs, you will be the leaders of all the Arabs. And all the non-Arabs also will be under you. If you remember, those of you who have been coming from the first lessons of the Seerah, Makkah was what? Nothing. In the greatest scheme of things in the world during that time, they were considered nothing. That's why they were never colonized. Remember that? They were never colonized. Why? Because there's nothing there and they're nothing. Nobody even cared about them. Now the Prophet ﷺ is saying to them, if you give me one word, you'll become the kings of all the Arabs and the non-Arabs, the whole world. Abu Talib, when he heard that, he said, kalimatan wahida, one word. Abu Jahl, he said, na'am wa abik, 10 kalimat. That criminal, he said, yes, and by your father, we are going to give you 10 words. One word and all the Arabs and non-Arabs will be under us. We'll give you 10 words, not one word. What is it? He said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, تقولون لا إله إلا الله. You say, La ilaha illallah. There's no true God who deserves to be worshipped except Allah. وَتَخْلَعُونَ مِمَّا تَعْبُدُونَ مِن دُونِهِ. And you leave those other gods you worship besides Him. Abu Talib, he said on that, Wallahi ibn akhi, indeed, by Allah, O my nephew, مَا رَأَيْتُكَ سَأَلْتَهُمْ شَطَطًا. I do not think you asked them a bad thing. This is very fair. But for them, they started hitting their heads. And they said, Ya Muhammad, أَتَجْعَلَ الْآلِهَةَ إِلَهًا وَاحِدًا. You still are calling us to leave all the gods and make him just one God? They had 360 idols, remember. And then the big idols, Lat and Uzza, Manat, Hubal. We leave all of them, just Allah only. That is the problem they had. Inna amraka la'ajab. Your matter is strange, and Yusuf. What is this? And they tried to tell each other, Lord, leave him, leave him. Stay on the religion of your fathers. And they left. And that is when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the beginning of Surah As-Sad. Surah As-Sad, Allah says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Sad wal Qur'an dhi dhikr. I swear by the Qur'an, which is the greatness. Or I swear by the Qur'an, which has a great reminder. بل الذين كفروا في عزة وشقاق. Rather, those who have disbelieved, they're still arrogant. Leave him. They're still arrogant, وفي شقاق, and they do not want to agree with you. كم أهلكنا من قبلهم من قرن. How many people before them we have destroyed? فنادوا ولا تحين مناص. And when the punishment came to them, they said, now we believe. ولكن لا تحين مناص. The time was done. وعجبوا أن جاءهم منذر منهم. And they found it strange and amazing that a warner has come to them from Allah. وقال الكافرون. The kafiruna, they said what? هذا ساحر كذاب. He's just a magician, one who's lying. أجعل الآلهة إلها واحدة. He's going to make all these gods, we leave them for one God. إِنَّ هَذَا لَشَيْءٌ عُجَابٌ. That is something strange. وَانْطَلَقَ الْمَلَأُ مِنْهُمْ. And those leaders of them, they left walking around saying what? أَنِمْشُوا وَاصْبِرُوا عَلَىٰ آلِهَتِكُمْ. Leave Muhammad, leave him. And be patient on the gods, the idols you worship. إِنَّ هَذَا لَشَيْءٌ يُرَادٌ. This is something he's just plotting. مَا سَمِعْنَا بِهَذَا فِي الْمِلَّةِ الْآخِرَةِ. We never heard of this before. إِنْ هَذَا إِلَّا اخْتِلَاقٌ. Muhammad is just making up things. The beginning of Surah Sad, Allah is talking about them on that day. And that is why, subhanallah, those who became Muslim of them after, like Abu Sufyan radiallahu anhu, he used to regret. He used to regret. Because people who technically were under him, he is a Sayyid, Abu Sufyan, from the Quraish. People like Bilal, people like Abdullah bin Mas'ud, they became better than him. Why? This is the lesson here now. Why? Because they took the message of Islam. And if you take the message of Islam, your color, your skin, your qabila, your tribe doesn't matter. So they used to regret. And this is what the Prophet ﷺ promised them. Give me one word. Allah will make you the kings of the Arabs and the Ajam. Why? Because they will be the only Muslims and everybody else will follow them. And why? Because the Prophet ﷺ knew, he was promised by Allah, Islam will be on top forever. But they refused. And what did the Prophet ﷺ ask them, Ikhwani? What did he ask them? Each one of you should give me 100 gold pieces every month, right? He said that. No, he didn't say that. He said, each one of you should give me his daughter to marry. No, he didn't say that. He said, each one of you should give me a portion of his business every month. No. He said one word. La ilaha illallah. If you say that, you'll be the kings of this world. But they understood what La ilaha illallah means. It means what? أَجَعَلَ الْآلِهَةَ إِلَهًا وَاحِدًا. Meaning you leave everything else, whatever you call, whatever you worship, whatever you take as a God. No. There's only one true God, Allah. And that is the meaning of La ilaha illallah. So you today as a Muslim, you should know that. Because Abu Jahl understood that before. They understood when the Prophet said to them, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, say La ilaha illallah. What does it mean? It means worship only Allah. Him alone. It did not mean say Allah is the creator. Allah is the creator. They knew that already. They didn't disagree to that. But worshipping practically, who is the God you're attached to? When you have problems, who do you turn to? When you want something, who do you ask? That is the message. So they refused. They refused. After a few days, we'll finish on this. After a few days, Abu Talib became very sick. And remember, we are in what year is this? The 10th year. He became very sick. And he was 87 years old actually at this time. When the Prophet ﷺ had the news, he rushed to his uncle. Remember, this was the man who took care of him since he was an orphan. And he loved him more than he loved his own sons. And then he protected him, he got him married. And then he protected him when he was a prophet until now, protected him. The Prophet ﷺ, when he got there, he found Abdullah ibn Abi Umayyah and Abu Jahl and others of those Quraish. They were there already. So the Prophet ﷺ, he said to him, Ya Ab, because he saw that he was dying, قُلْ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. Say La ilaha illallah. Kalimatan uhajju laka biha indallah. If you say that, I will ask for Allah. I will ask Allah for you. Say La ilaha illallah. Again, they understood what he was asking them. Meaning, I believe there's only one true God and He's the one who should be worshipped, Allah alone. Abu Jahl was standing on the other side. He looked at Abu Talib and said, Ya Abu Talib, أترغب عن ملة عبد المطلب? Are you going to leave the religion of your father? The Prophet ﷺ asked him again, Ya Ab, قل لا إله إلا الله. Say La ilaha illallah. There's no true God to be worshipped except Allah. أشهد لك بها يوم القيامة. On the day of judgment, I'll say to Allah, Ya Rabb, my uncle he believed. Even though he didn't pray, he didn't do anything in Islam, but he died on La ilaha illallah. They said to him, are you going to leave the religion of our fathers? Remember, Abu Jahl is his brother, right? That's his brother. What did he do, Abu Talib? He said, لولا تعيرني قريش. If it was not the fact that this Quraish, they will always speak bad about me, saying, يقولون إنما حمله على ذلك الجزع. He only said it because he was weak. I would have said it to make you happy, my son. لأقررت بها عينك. I would have said it to make you happy. But على ملة عبد المطلب. I die on the religion of my father. And he died on that. And the Prophet ﷺ, he lost one of the main pillars of his life. And he was very sad, very sad. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the verse in Surah Ghafir which says, He revealed the verse which says, إِنَّكَ لَا تَهْدِي مَنْ أَحْبَبْتَ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ. You, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, you do not guide who you want. Rather, it is Allah who guides whom He wants. You can call people, but at the end of the day, the hearts are in the hands of Allah. The Prophet was saddened a lot. He was very sad. And he promised that he will always ask Allah to forgive his uncle. And he used to ask Allah to forgive him. But then later on, in the Medina stage, the Muslims were forbidden from making istighfar for the non-Muslims who have died. ما كان للنبي والذين آمنوا أن يستغفروا للمشركين ولو كانوا أولي قربى من بعد ما تبين لهم أنهم أصحاب الجحيم. This was later on. But he promised to make istighfar for him, just like Ibrahim had promised his father to make istighfar for him. And his father died upon shirk also, until Allah told him, don't do that again. So the Prophet ﷺ, he left. And Ali radiallahu anhu came. And the Prophet ﷺ, he said, go bury your father. Go bury your father. And when you've done, come and meet me. Ali went, he buried his father. He came back to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When he came, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told him to take a ghusl, to take a shower, and he made dua for him. What do we learn from this? But before we go to what do we learn from this? There are some people, especially the Shia, they'll say Abu Talib sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Yeah. Because he's the father of Ali, right? So he has to be great. Not just radiallahu anhu, no, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Like as you see, Abu Talib, he died upon his shirk. And this is in Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. There's no doubt about it. Remember, Ibrahim alayhi salam, his own father, refused to be Muslim once. We said Nuh alayhi salam, his own wife, his own child, son, refused to be Muslim. And others. One time, this is after in Medina, after Al-Abbas had become a Muslim now, the brother of Abu Talib, Al-Abbas, the uncle of the Prophet ﷺ. One day he came and asked the Prophet ﷺ, قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ما أغنيت عن عمك فوالله كان يحوتك. He said, have you not helped your uncle? Like, you didn't help him in anything? What's going to happen? Because he used to defend you. وَيَغْضَبُ لَكَ, he used to become angry for you. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, هُوَ فِي ضَحْضَاحٍ مِّن نَارٍ, he's in the shallow parts of the hellfire. وَلَوْلَا أَنَا, if it was for me, and for me asking Allah for him, if it was not for me to ask Allah for him, لَكَانَ فِي الدَّرْكِ الْأَسْفَلِ مِنَ النَّارِ, he'll be in the depths of the hellfire. This is in Sahih al-Bukhari and Muslim, like I said. And one narration, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, فَيُجْعَلُ فِي ضَحْضَاحِ مِنَ النَّارِ, he'll be made in the shallow parts of the hellfire. Only his ankles are in the hellfire, and that will make his brains to boil. That is how hot the hellfire is. We ask Allah to protect us from the hellfire. He'll be put up to the ankles, and this will make his brains boil. And this is also in Sahih al-Bukhari. So his defense of Islam, he is defending the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You can say it helped him to an extent. He's not in the depths of the hellfire, but he's still in the hellfire, and he'll be there forever, because he never died upon Islam, he died upon shirk. What do we learn from this lesson? Who can tell me what is the greatest lesson from this event, the death of Abu Talib? What is the greatest lesson you learn? When Abdullah? Tayyib, what is the greatest lesson we learn here? Let's finish up. Now, only dying upon Tawheed will save you from the hellfire. That is true, but that is not the greatest lesson here. Guidance comes from Allah, that is true. That's not the greatest lesson. I want the greatest lesson. You do not guide whom you want, the Prophet ﷺ, that is true. That's not the greatest lesson. Abu Talib is dying. The Prophet ﷺ goes to visit him. Why is he going to visit him? To giving him da'wah. He is not giving up. The Prophet ﷺ never gave up. He never gave up. Me and you today, you have your cousin, maybe your closest ones, your mother, your father, your sister, your son, your daughter. Say, I gave up on him. I don't even want to give him salam. No, that is not the way of the Prophet ﷺ. He never gave up, even the last moment. He didn't go and say, those camels you left and those properties in the Shi'ab. No. Says, قُلْ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. Say لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. That is all that I want. كَلِمَةٌ أُحَاجُ لَكَ بِهَا عِنْدَ اللَّهِ. I'll ask Allah for you. الدعوة إلى الله. Never give up in people. You never know. But that's not the greatest lesson. While he was saying this, what was happening? You had Abu Jahl and the others, Abdullah ibn Abi Umayyah, and they said what? You're going to leave the religion of your father. You're going to leave the religion of the father. Look, they did not say, you're going to leave idol worship. He didn't say that. You're going to leave Lat and Uzza and Manat, our gods. They didn't say that. They hit him on the softest spot. You're going to leave the religion of your father? What is the lesson here? The importance of good company and good friends. That is the lesson here. They can be your making or your destruction. They'll be your making or your destruction. What was his response? He never said, I know that Muhammad is lying. In fact, he knew this was the truth. He had said it himself. What was his response? He says, لَوْلَا تُعَيِّرَنِي Quraish. If it was not for the fact that this Quraish will always speak about me, they'll say he only said it because he was weak. I would have said it. And then they had these people saying, don't say it. They are the religion of your father. The importance of good company. Even the last moments of your life, subhanallah. You should watch carefully who are your friends. Are they the kind of friends who will bring you closer to Allah? Or are they the kind of friends who, maybe they're not bad, they don't tell you to sin, but they never tell you good also. I know many of us, we are in that manzil bayna manzilatayn, yani. You know, they're not bad people, my friends, but they're also not good. They don't tell you to do good. No, they're not good. They're not good. We are humans. Humans need that emotional support. Friends. We need friends. Whether it's your relatives, whether it's people who are not your relatives. What kind of friends do you have? And a few days passed after the death of Abu Talib, and something even greater happened. Something more sad. And that is tomorrow, insha'Allah. So we'll stop here and continue tomorrow. سبحانك اللهم بحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.